In-gang had been an idol back in the day, but the star of their group was Ji-Hyuk. But one day In-gang watched him eat a macaroon that had nuts in it, and he didn't say anything, even knowing he was allergic. Ji-Hyuk's hospitalization let In-gang take over and host an event, which got him noticed by the broadcasters, leading to him eventually becoming the massive star he is today. But the guilt of it has eaten him away, especially with all the congratulatory texts he gets from Ji-Hyuk. He tells Ah-Jin all this because he knew what she was up to with the video at the anniversary party and enjoyed her handiwork, but he takes the opportunity to tell her to be careful. Unfortunately, the next thing Ah-Jin knows, Detective Park is calling her up and blackmailing her to go to a club's VIP room, where she sees a bunch of coked-up, washed-out stars and rushes out, but In-gang has seen her here. He's disappointed in her and says he doesn't want to talk to her again when she refuses to tell him who called her there. This definitely puts a damper on her plans to try and date him, as she'd revealed to Jeong-Seok just recently. To deal with this Detective Park crisis, Jo comes in, though unknowingly. The last we saw of the young man, he'd been arrested for the murder of his father, but he got out after serving 4 years and started working doing delivery runs and background checks with an old acquaintance, potentially from prison. He gets tasked with eavesdropping on Park, but when he finds out Detective Park's talking to a journalist, Luna's cousin, about Ah-Jin murdering her father, he runs off to find out who his client is, and discovers it's Jeong-Seok. The two old not-quite friends meet up and strategize to protect Ah-Jin, and eventually scrounge up dirt about how Park's daughter did drugs in the US, throwing it in his face and scaring him off from working with the journalist. Almost as a reward, the next time he comes to Jeong-Seok's place, Ah-Jin's there, and the two are delighted to be reunited. Jo has not had a lot to look forward to since he got out. He can't even see his little brother, who lives with his aunt and uncle, because his aunt tells him his little brother doesn't deserve to have to deal with the man who killed his father. After In-gang spurned her the first time, Ah-Jin arranged affairs, so she first bumped into his grandmother at a temple and then at her apartment, where the old lady invited her in because she'd cooked too much food for her daughter's, In-gang's mom's, memorial. In-gang was raised single-handedly by his grandmother, so Ah-Jin knew this was a relationship she'd have to exploit. But when he turns up, he's furious, and he drags her out of the flat, with it ending in a shouting match where she calls him a coward for refusing to believe it was all a coincidence. In-gang gets talking to his grandmother too. Later, he goes to visit Ji-Hyuk, which all his former bandmates had been asking him to do for a long time. Ji-Hyuk reveals that he'd known all along that the macaroons had nuts in them and that he'd known In-gang knew too. He just felt suffocated being an idol and felt like this was his only escape, so he let it happen. His intention was to free In-gang from any guilt that had a hold on him, but the star instead becomes furious and leaps at him, punching him in the jaw. When he finds out Ji-Hyuk only reached out and opened up after Ah-Jin spoke to him, he's even more mad. He asks his manager to both stop him from ever having to work with Ah-Jin again and make a public announcement that he's broken up with Luna. He eventually changes his mind though, and he asks her out to dinner. At the end of Dear X episode 6, Ah-Jin has one last trick up her sleeve, getting Jo involved and asking him to do whatever he can to crash his bike into In-gang's car and make him late for their date. He does this in dashing style, and In-gang ends up more than an hour late, showing up after the restaurant's already closed. He's amazed that she's still waiting for him, and she replies that she couldn't stand the thought of missing him. She also makes the romantic gesture of wrapping him in her scarf after she notices he's lightly dressed, and by this point he's head over heels for her, and they lean in and kiss each other, technically before they've even had a first date. But this episode ends on a bittersweet note. Jeong-Seok had gone out to grab drinks with Luna, seemingly just to keep her company and maybe find out what she was up to. When he got drunk and heard the guys outside the bar perving on a cardboard cutout of Ah-Jin, he'd gone out and started brawling with them, but he ended up unresponsive on the road, with Luna screaming for help. The way he had his eyes open and unblinking is really scary. There's no way the show will just kill him off, but there's a chance he'll end up in a coma and complicate the story. We'll have to wait till next week to find out.